Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the reasons I love President Trump. Anything he says, Democrats absolutely have a meltdown in response to. It's really hilarious how they don't realize that he's playing them. They think that they're trying to cut him down to size always, and oh my God, we're gonna disparage and demean Trump, and they don't realize that he controls the narrative. It's really hilarious, especially I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. And I realized very early on that Democrats, they enjoy cheating their candidates and getting away with it and sweeping all of their sins and corruption under the rug. So they enjoy controlling the media spin. They enjoy controlling and manipulating the public relations narrative. If they're not in full control of what you hear and listen to and watch, then they just have a complete and utter meltdown. So President Trump today said, "Yeah, we'll go ahead and postpone the election, basically because I don't trust you." And there's no reason to trust Democrats. In the DNC fraud lawsuit that Jared Beck, Elizabeth Beck, and Nico House waged, only three people were courageous enough to go up against the DNC. They got a DNC attorney to say they don't even need to have a primary. So, which leads us to Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee. It ain't going to be Biden. That's absurd. But here, an absentee ballot is a ballot used to cast an absentee vote, which is submitted usually by mail by an absentee. Absentee here refers to a person who can't physically be present at a voting center on election day. Absentee ballots. Okay, so to get an absentee ballot, a registered voter must request one through their state government. This is the primary difference, along with how these ballots are picked up. All states again send absentee ballots to military and overseas voters who request them. They're different from just mail-in ballots that are sent to all voters. Because and this is very simple, even a Democrat can understand this. You have to register to get an absentee ballot. B, the ballots are not going to be harvested, or they're not going to be collected in the same manner that a regular mail-in ballot. So in these states, the term absentee ballot can specifically So here, what is a mail-in ballot? 5 states, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Hawaii, already conduct their elections through mail-in process that's often referred to as all-mail voting. Registered voters in these states automatically receive a mail ballot, which is sent to their address before Election Day. Okay, and mailed back by the voter or deposited at a voting location or secure drop box by a certain time on Election Day. Generally, you would expect the individual who has been given the mail-in ballot, just like the absentee ballot, to himself or herself place the ballot into the ballot box at the location. Now, you had a South Philly judge of elections admits he took bribes to stuff the ballot box for Democratic candidates. But here's the issue. That was just the other day, or a couple weeks back. Here's an Orange County Register article. What is ballot harvesting and how is it affecting Southern California elections? Okay, this is the big issue. You don't want Democrats to have Democratic operatives, taking hundreds of thousands of ballots and saying, gosh, this state, because most of the last-second recounts helped Democrats. Gee, I wonder why. And you had ballot boxes floating around in Broward County. But here you have nobody. Okay, so even the term process is contentious. Republicans uniformly call it ballot harvesting, implying that election results are planted and plucked from a field of voters. Democrats and voting rights advocates prefer the term ballot collection. So this is exactly why he's trying to say, let's postpone the election because of the pandemic and because of the fact that I don't trust you. I mean, you cheated Bernie Sanders. Why should we trust you? I mean, the past 4 years has been all about they cheated Bernie Sanders. We found out, and it was the Russians who told us. And that reality has been swept under the rug. The big issue, it's become a hot button issue with election experts saying misinformation. Okay, so here, California ballot rules are among the most permissive in the nation with no restriction on who can gather ballots or how many they can pick up. There is no uniform code or protocol or law stating that a government election official must pick up hundreds of thousands of ballots. So this is like a Democratic Party dream. The fact that they always pretend to be indignant. The indignation is hilarious. They literally cheated Bernie Sanders. They literally cheated Bernie Sanders. We know from the emails that they wrote that they said Russia hacked into to inform us they cheated Bernie Sanders. Then we have a South Philly judge who was, Pennsylvania's going to be very close, almost certainly, because they're putting out all the stops. They're known for cheating. Democrats are known for cheating. They claim that Trump cheated with Russia because of Facebook ads that nobody saw. So they actually commit the corruption and the illicit behavior and the overt cheating. And then they say, well, no, it was Trump who cheated. They project. But see, again, if you're a former Bernie Sanders supporter, then you know what? It's funny because, like, I heard the other day somebody said, oh yeah, H.A. Goodman, how Bernie can still win. The whole thing was rigged from the start, and it is this time around also. Biden is not going to be on that ballot across from Trump. It's going to be Hillary Clinton. It's a political machine. But see, that's the difference. When people on the left would try to make fun of me or denigrate me or insult me because I said Bernie Sanders could still win, I never said that after July 5th when James Comey literally covered up a litany of crimes. You cannot use private servers for convenience, and it's obviously to hide communication, but you also can't transfer confidential, secret, top secret information, sensitive, confidential, or top secret information. Okay, secret, top secret. I forgot exactly but you can't transfer top secret intelligence. You can't transfer classified data onto servers outside of the United States government. It is not physically or from a cybersecurity sense possible. It is completely against the law. And so when Comey said, so when I was writing on behalf of, well, not behalf, but when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, I said, look, there's no way that any American can get away with this. And instead of backing me up, everyone on the left said, no, that's you're going way too far. You're sounding like a Republican. We can't harm the Democratic Party because at the end of the day, we're all Democrats, even the far left. This was before Rose Twitter. So they didn't want to push that envelope and say, yeah, you know what? The person that we found out basically won a primary through cheating, because Clinton did not win fair and square that primary. We know because the Russians hacked the DNC to inform us that Bernie was cheated. People were like, oh my God, how could Bernie Sanders still win? Because he was running against somebody who literally should have been indicted. Again, they don't see it that way. They never saw it that way. The way they see it is, how dare you even suggest that? And you see James Comey vindicated Clinton and then they say, oh, how Bernie could still win. Oh, H.A. Goodman. You imbeciles. The reason that Bernie was cheated is because Democrats knew they could get away with it without any repercussions. But that's the way they work. That's the left pretends that they stand up to authority. They don't. The left is like, they're the ones who would be the horrible people in a certain time period. I don't want to in 1930s and 40s Germany. They're the ones who would have been the people who murdered Sophie Scholl. They're the ones who would have been the people in universities who went against, because the universities at that time, if you don't know who Sophie Scholl is, tremendous hero, went up against the prevailing mentality in the universities at that day and age. The universities, by and large, supported the horrific monsters, okay, who murdered 6 million men, women, and children, okay, of my religion, Jewish men, women, and children. And they're the ones who would have, the left the left is not, if you're on the left, you might think that if you lived back at that time period, that you'd be fighting against all the monsters that, I can't even say the word, but the regime, this is against YouTube policies, but the regime that, no. They fall in line. They just believe anything. So the prevailing mentality back then, even among universities, and you look at the universities today, one common theme is there's one country that they obsess over in the Middle East. Just happens to be the only Jewish state. We can go on. There's correlations. Okay, I'm speaking in obviously roundabout terms because I can't really get into it because it's like the YouTube guidelines, they don't allow you to really get into it. I'm a little bit more myself on H.A. Goodman's other channel, so subscribe there. But it's the left that would be, they wouldn't be fighting. They wouldn't be the partisans fighting the horrific monsters of the 30s and 40s in Germany. They would be actually of that same mentality. How easy is it to vilify Russia? They're the, interestingly enough, another parallel, it was Russia that helped defeat the same people they claim they would defeat. But how easy was it to blame Russia for notifying the country of their corruption that cheated their own candidate? Why is it that President Trump is the only president to sign an executive order combating anti-Semitism, or moving the embassy from Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, or recognizing the Golan as Israel's? So we can go on forever. Okay. The parallels between that time, why am I even getting into this? The parallels between that time period, there are much stronger correlations between the left being an easily manipulated, and I write in the Jerusalem Post, read my op-ed below, why Democrats embrace anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias. So read my op-ed below. But see, again, the left they've convinced themselves that they're morally righteous, and they'd be morally righteous in any time period. And they're not only a bunch of lemmings, they don't have any grasp of history, zero grasp, and they can't even acknowledge their own cheating. They can't even acknowledge their own corruption. If President Trump worked with Russia, I would say, yeah, he worked with Russia. If President Trump withheld military assistance because he was so afraid of Biden, who said he's running for Senate, I would say, yeah, he did that because he was trying to interfere in the election. None of these things happened. The left is so easily manipulated by a bunch of nonsense that they could actually cheat and engage in this harvest balloting and engage in this, and then let's say, well, there's studies have been done, and we haven't found anything. Well, you don't need a study. You don't need a study to prove Democratic Party corruption. You could look at Tammany Hall, Boss Tweed. You can look at the South Philly judge of elections that was stuffing ballots. Okay. You could look at Bernie Sanders being cheated. You can look at the Iowa. They don't even know who. I mean, we know that Mayor Pete won now, but the Iowa app that was linked to Clinton campaign officials, nobody found anything fishy. The left is like this giant political entity controlled by the Democratic Party, And they either are too stupid or too gullible or too afraid to realize that they're actually very easily manipulated by a political party. I'm not a Republican. I'm voting for President Trump because he's bringing home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. He signed a deal to get us out of America's longest-running military conflict in late February and early March. Signed the First Step Act, gave more money to historically black colleges and universities than President Obama's administration in his first 4 years. You look, and President Trump, we had record low unemployment, record low black and Latino unemployment before the pandemic. The pandemic has seen 5 Democratic-run states account for over half. New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania account for over half of all the lives lost in all the cases. So, he's a good president. The media meltdown is the same thing they did to Bernie Sanders. On steroids, though. So, I know I was kind of speaking in roundabout terms, and if you watch this channel, you understand exactly what I'm saying. The left is not the type of people who would rise up against tyranny. They're the type of people who would create, either join and help implement tyranny, or and so you can look at any time period. They're not the ones who would be the partisans, or they're not the ones who would fight tyranny, because they're so easily manipulated. Whether it's universities or whether through the DNC, so easily manipulated, it's unbelievable. They can't even bring up the fact that Bernie was cheated. But anyway, the notion that they wouldn't cheat with mail-in ballots. Universal mail-in ballots where you don't have to register for an absentee ballot and, explain you're not going to be here. And there's no, documentation that says you would need, an absentee ballot. And there's literally no uniform protocol. California's ballot collection rules are among the most permissive in the nation, with no restriction on who can gather ballots or how many they can pick up. I keep on reading that rule, because whether it's not in the rule book or whether it's not allowed in other states, you better believe Democrats are going to look the other way. Because just ask the South Philly judge, just ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz. In Nevada. In Nevada, this was in the Atlantic. This is in 2008. Just here, Obama manager accuses Clintons of widespread dirty politics. This is the Atlantic article. Mark Abender, January 19, 2008. David Plouffe, in a succinct statement appended to a released quotation from his boss, said the Obama campaign was investigating more than 200 reporters of irregularities in Nevada. This is the wonderful Democratic Party and the definitely not racist Madam Secretary. Quote, "We currently have reports of over 200 separate incidents of trouble at voting sites, including doors being closed up to 30 minutes early, registration forms running out so people were turned away, and ID being requested and checked in non-uniform fashion." Don't you love this? They're against voter ID. And then Clinton, when she was running against President Obama, demanded ID in Nevada. This is in addition to the Clinton campaign's efforts to confuse voters and call into question the at-large voting sites, which clearly had an effect on turnout at these locations. These kinds of Clinton campaign tactics were part of an entire week's worth of false divisive attacks designed to mislead voters and discredit the primary itself. Plouffe asks all Nevadans to call a toll-free number and report any other problems. Do you think that David Plouffe trusted the Clinton campaign? Do you think that anyone should trust the South Philly judge that stuffed ballot boxes? Do you think that the Broward County election officials should be trusted? Do you think the Democratic Party should be trusted after cheating Bernie Sanders? Do you think Debbie Wasserman Schultz should be trusted after resigning in disgrace? You can't ask these questions of the left because they'll say, well, Republicans are worse, but you can't find any examples of where the Republican chairman, or chairwoman was forced to resign. You can't find any examples where they blamed another country for emails that showed that they were cheating a candidate. You can't find any examples where there are 200 separate incidents of troubles at a voting location because Jeb Bush, cheated Trump. This is an important segment, ladies and gentlemen. Check out my live stream this evening. It's going to be amazing. I have the best live streams in the evening. They go around 2 hours, and they're fantastic. We have a lot of fun. So check that out. It's probably about 9:30 p.m. Pacific this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump wants to delay the election. He's obviously bluffing. He's not serious, but he's letting them know, you know what? You want to play that game, then we'll keep people safe from the pandemic. Let's postpone it. If you want to play that game, we'll play that game. Give me your thoughts below. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. And subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. It's below in the pinned comment. I have a great segment. Thank you so very, very much. It's heating up. Hillary Clinton is going to be nominee. She's the only chance they have. And as you can see, the political machine has been tailored, not for Biden, okay? It's been tailored for two people. Wonderful and amazing and brilliant and very moral and definitely very good people, Bill and Hillary Clinton. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you.